Hello, 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 and welcome back. It is time. You have done your homework, you've gotten your documents ready, you got your password, you are a rock star, and you are now ready to do your application for your student loan. Here are our walkthroughs.
You need to know, we are not the experts. We don't work for the student loans. We work for the Career and Employment Center. We do the best we can with the information and resources that are provided to us. We've been helping students since 2015, and every year we try to adapt and evolve and get better. If we can't answer your questions, we'll find someone who can. On your screen, you'll see the toll-free numbers for the New Brunswick Student Financial Services, as well as the National Student Loan Services Center. These are the provincial and federal service centers. If you want to know more about what financial programs are available to you, you can call your local Working NB office to speak with an employment counselor. On your screen, you'll find the numbers for the Campbellton, Grand Falls, and Edmundston offices. And despite the pandemic, our CEC agents are still ready and willing to help you. So go ahead and like their Facebook page, whether the CEC Restigouche, the Grand Falls CEC, or the Edmundston CEC. Finally, if you enjoy our content, don't forget to like our videos and subscribe to our channel. If you have questions, comments, or suggestions, send me an email to nancy.power@r-2.ca or comment on any of our social media pages.
So get all your documents ready because this is the walkthrough for the married or common law category of student.
So we're ready to start. The first page asks whether or not you're a Canadian citizen. Please note that if you're a permanent resident or a protected person of Canada, you have to also add what dates you arrived in Canada and what dates you arrived in New Brunswick. For this application, we're picking Canadian citizen. This next page has a lot of standard information, such as your gender. You can also inscribe X if you do not want to disclose your gender. Language, English or French. This is what language you want your documents in. Do you have a permanent disability? We're going to discuss this in another video, but if you do pick yes, you will have to add a medical assessment to your application. A permanent disability can include a lot of things, so make sure to check the notes. And finally, your marital status. For this application, we'll be doing married or also common law. Here's where you put all your contact information, such as your mailing address. This is where all of your student loan documents will be sent, so make sure you put an address that is reliable. You also have to include an email address. This email address has to be accessible. You need to be able to verify it often because they will be sending you information on how to access your student loan account. And finally, a phone number. Make sure to put the numbers in the format required. Is your permanent address the same as your mailing address? The difference between the two is the permanent address is where all of your documents will be sent. It's a good thing to have a reliable address, such as your parents' place or a home address. If you're living in an apartment that you may not live at very long, you don't want to put this as your permanent address. Have you previously cashed a student loan from New Brunswick or from another province other than New Brunswick? There's a difference between applying for a student loan and cashing one. Cashing one means you actually received the money. So for example, if you had a loan last year for the 2019-2020 year, did you receive a loan in September or did you receive one in January? Make sure to put the year, the correct year that you cashed your last student loan. If you haven't received any, you can just put no at both questions. Now this page is voluntary information. You don't have to include your information if you don't want to. Student loans use this information for statistical reasons. They want to know if you are of indigenous ancestry, and if so, which group you belong to, or if you have a visible minority status, meaning you are African, Chinese, Korean, or Pacific Islander ancestry. You don't have to answer them, and if you do, it is just voluntary. Here's where you choose what student category you belong to. Now, we discussed this in one of our previous videos, so by now you should know a little bit which category you belong to. For this application, we are doing the married or common law category. Specifically, we're just choosing category A, where we are legally married. However, if you scroll down the page, you will see that there are other categories, and they are all numbered by letter. A, legally married, E, physical custody for single parent, etc. Make sure to pick the correct letter at the bottom of the page so that you fall under the correct student category. Some of the questions will change depending on the category you choose, so it's important to get this right from the get-go. This page is just to confirm your choice of student category. If it's correct, you can click Next. If not, you're able to click Previous. I should also point out that in the top right corner, you can always choose to log out, exit, or change the language to French. These options are always available. Here's where you choose if you're applying for full consideration for Canada and New Brunswick loans, or just for the New Brunswick student loan. Here's the difference. If you apply for the New Brunswick student loan only, they will look only at your income, as New Brunswick student loans only look at the applicant's income. The Canada student loans includes the income of the partner. That means you will have to provide the information of their income on your application. This, of course, will give you a little bit more money, as you can check and see how much is calculated in their notes. If you're unsure, you can contact Student Loans. If you choose full consideration, you'll have to include your partner's information. You will then see this page, another declaration and consent page. This is similar or pretty much the same to the one you saw at the beginning of your application. However, this is for your partner. It is so they know what they are giving their consent to. You don't have to do anything with this page. You don't have to print it or anything. It's just for them to read if they need more information. This page is to verify your residency to make sure that you are eligible for the New Brunswick student loan. Basically, they want to know, in the last 12 months, so the last year, where have you lived? If you have lived somewhere other than New Brunswick, you have to include the dates that you were outside New Brunswick. Once you scroll down the page, you will see that the same question is asked for your partner. Have they lived outside of New Brunswick in the last 12 months? If so, you must include the dates. If they lived in New Brunswick, you can leave those spaces empty. This page is asking you about your educational history. Where did you go to high school and what year did you graduate? If you did not graduate high school, you have to include the year that you left and the highest grades you completed. If you received your GED or an adult high school diploma, you have to include the year and the month that you received it. The very last question asks you if you've ever enrolled in a post-secondary educational institution. If you have, press yes. If you haven't, click no. In our following page, it'll show you what happens if you click yes. If you have been to a university or college before, you have to include its information on this page. And not only do you have to include the information for all of your programs of study, you have to include it for each year you've attended. As you'll see on the screen, we've included an example. So for example, your first year of study was a Bachelor's of Science. Did you graduate? No, because it was your first year. Did you receive a student loan? Yes or no? What institution was it? I'd put University of New Brunswick. For the name of the program of study, we just put science or biology. And the start and end dates, we put last year's dates. If you've done more than 1 year of study, you have to include each year in the exact same manner. If you applied for a loan last year, you only have to include the information for the last year you've studied. So where are you going? What province or territory will you be studying in? Once you've chosen the province or territory, a drop-down list of all the educational institutions available will appear. You have to go through the list and pick the one that you'll be attending. Make sure you also pick the correct campus. If you don't see your university or college in the list, it may not be designated with the student loans. You can call your educational institution to find out more and ask them. Once you've picked your educational institution, it will ask your program level. A bachelor is usually a university degree and it consists of 4 years. A certificate or diploma is usually a college degree, certificate being 1 year and diploma being 2 years, although exceptions may apply. Finally, what course are you taking? Are you in arts, science, computer science, nursing? In your drop-down list, you will find all of the options available for that educational institution. Please note that some of them have co-op in their name. We'll find out why later. What year of the program are you entering? So for example, if the length of your program is 4 years, so a bachelor's degree, are you entering the first year, second year, third year, or fourth year? Make sure to get these correct as it may affect your funding. Remember that co-op thing I mentioned? Here's why. It will ask you, are you enrolled in a co-op program? If it's in the name, obviously you are. If you're not sure, then you probably aren't. It's usually mentioned in the name of the program of study. So if you are, click yes, and if you aren't, click no. Your study period dates. Now be careful with this drop-down menu because it can be tricky. This is where you say what your study period year is going to be. So for example, are you there for a full year or just a semester? Pay attention because the first line is September to December. It's only the first semester. If you're there for a full year, you want the second option in the list, so September to April. Please note that universities usually finish in April, while colleges usually finish in June. If you know your student ID, here's where you can put it. If you don't know it, you can leave this space blank. At first glance, this page seems complicated, but let's walk you through it. The very first question is your expected graduation date. So if it's a 2-year program, in 2 years, in 4 years, etc. Make sure to put it in the format requested, year followed by month. Are you completing a co-op work term during the study period? If you're in a co-op program, you will have a work term. You have to find out the start and end dates by calling your educational institution, and you'll have to also put where you're going to live during your work term. Are you completing a practicum? This is similar to a co-op work term, only you're not getting paid during your practicum. Usually co-op work terms are paid. Practicum dates can be provided by your college or university, and you'll also have to put where you'll be living. Are your courses online through correspondence or other form of remote delivery, yes or no? They want to know, are you going to be in class or will you be taking this course from home? And finally, what percentage of a full-time course load will you be taking? A general rule for degree programs is 5 courses is 100% course load. Most full-time students have 100% course load. Here's where they ask you about your 2019 income tax return. Did you file one? Did you work or were you employed in 2019? Here's a reminder that you have to complete your income tax return in order to be assessed for the loans. You may wonder why, but this page explains it. They need the amount showing on line 1500 of your 2019 income tax return. You can get this number on your income tax report from whoever did your taxes or from the Canada Revenue Agency Notice of Assessment. You may also have to put what amount you have on line 2100. Please note that if it's 0, you have to put 0. What financial resources will you have access to while you're studying? If you don't have any amounts to put, you do have to put 0 in order to move forward. Little red lines will show up where you've forgotten to put a 0 or any amounts. So first off, do you have any scholarships or bursaries? Put the amount, the source, or the name and the name of the bursary. Make sure not to include any that is expected from New Brunswick Student Financial Assistance. Those include bursaries from your student loans. Do you have a tuition reduction or a family discount? This means if you're attending a college or university where someone from your immediate family works, you may have access to a reduction in your tuition. If you don't, make sure to put 0. Finally, indicate the amount and source of any other targeted resources you'll have during the study period. You don't have to include any kind of savings from RRSPs, RESPs, employment income, or social assistance, etc. The list there is fairly extensive. Finally, have you met or are you planning to meet with an employment counselor concerning the Training and Skills Development Program? Yes or no, and if you know their name, make sure to put it down at the bottom. If you don't know what this is, then you most likely aren't receiving any funding from it, and so you can just click no. If you want to find out more, contact your local Working New Brunswick office. While in classes, will you be living with your partner? If you won't be, or if you've chosen no, you will have to include some more information, such as which one of you will be residing away from home, and where is the secondary residence located, and how many weeks of the school year will you be away from your family home. Concerning children or your family unit, there are 3 pages where you can put information regarding your children or dependents. The first page, the one we are on now, is for children or dependents under 12 years of age. You have to put their name, their relationship to you, their date of birth, and their age. If you have more than one, you add a row. On the second page, you have to put dependents 12 years or older that are not enrolled in post-secondary studies, such as teenagers. And finally, on the last page, you include the dependents who are enrolled in post-secondary studies. You have to include what institution they're attending, as well as their social insurance number and if they're receiving student loans as well. Next, they need information about your partner. Are they employed, unemployed, applying for student financial services for full-time students, or not applying? You'll also have to include their first name, last name, social insurance number, and date of birth. Make sure to put the social insurance number and date of birth in the format provided. A few more questions about your partner. Are they receiving EI benefits, social assistance, or federal or provincial disability benefits? You can choose yes or no for each of the questions. Did your partner file a 2019 income tax return? If yes, you'll have to include the information from line 1500 and line 2100. If they have not, you'll have to include 00 in those spaces in order to move forward. Here's a space where you can leave comments on your application of any exceptional circumstances that Student Financial Services should know of. This can include any medical conditions where you have to pay extra money that hasn't been covered in your application so far. They already take into account of many things, so it really has to be something extraordinary or circumstantial. On the final page, you can choose to give permission to student loans to speak to your partner on your behalf if they can't reach you. If you're okay with this, you can add the name of your partner and their relationship to you on this page. If you choose not to, that's also okay, and you can leave the space blank. And this is it, the end of the line. You can click Submit Application because you are all done applying for your student loan. Don't forget, it will take 6 to 8 weeks before you get any information back from student loan regarding how much money you will receive.
All right, that's it. You're done. You've officially applied for a student loan and you've signed your life away. I'm kidding. But now that you're done, now what? Don't forget to check out our other videos, like and subscribe to see what happens after you've applied for a student loan. And don't forget to check out Working NB for other programs and services that they might have to offer. Thanks, and see you next time.